everybody, welcome to Video Marketing for Business podcast. And I'm super excited because I actually connected with my next guest actually through Instagram, but because she, I believe, heard me on Clubhouse, which is a new great platform. I actually have some videos coming up about that in the near future. But for now, we're actually going to focus on, I've had the pleasure to have another TikTok influencer on my show recently, but, I wanted to have another one because I thought this channel was so unique. And MAAYAN Gordon is here with me today, and she can explain a little bit more about what she does. She's just so unique, and she's got this great ability with glass. And so go ahead and come on in and just share a little bit about your story with glass and building TikTok, and we'll just dive right in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to share my story and hopefully teach people a thing or two or give them some little nuggets of information. So I got into glass blowing actually because I started up another business, which was a graphic design and a sticker printing business. And it just so happened that I ended up with a lot of glass blower clients and customers who all wanted to purchase stickers from me. And I started doing these trades, these barter situations, where instead of selling $200 worth of stickers, I was able to trade up for, let's say, $400 to $600 worth of glass because it was a win-win situation. They didn't have to pay cash out. They, could take a piece they already made and trade it for something that they needed, which was stickers. And then I would just turn around and sell the glass on my Instagram. And after a while of doing that, I was like, man, selling glass is way easier than selling stickers. I think I want to have a glass blowing business. So I naturally, anything that I dive into, I want to dive as much into it as I possibly can. So I didn't just want to sell glass. I wanted to see, could I make glass pieces? So I traded some stickers for a glass blowing lesson, fell in love with it right away, bought all the equipment, set up a home studio, and just started practicing literally every day for 10 plus hours a day. And that's how I got into glass blowing. I didn't hop onto TikTok and kind of receive all of this attention for it until last year. Really, I hopped onto TikTok in August of 2019. So I've been now on it for a little more than a year. And it blew up for me very, very quickly. I think largely because I was one of the very first glass blowers on the platform. And a lot of people had never seen glass blowing before. I think other than my channel, the Blown Away show on Netflix has been one of the bigger exposures of glass blowing to the world. And so it was just like this really exciting, crazy time of like, oh my God, this platform is, showing my videos to all of these millions of people. I'm getting all of these millions of followers. This is leading to all these other opportunities. And then at the same time, I hopped onto LinkedIn and found this new business community that I'd never had access to before. And I fell in love with that because I'm a true entrepreneur at heart, and I love just building things. That creative side of me loves businesses for the building and creativity aspect. And so that's what's led me here today. And here I am on a podcast with you.
That's awesome. What do you remember the day that the first video went viral? Which video went viral for you on TikTok? And how fast did you see it grow? What were your thoughts in that moment?
Yeah. So the way that I noticed it was I started, I had at the time I would have my sound on my phone on. Now I've got it totally muted out. But it was just like ding, 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 ding. And I looked at my phone and it was like 99 plus notifications. And previous to that, there were like 0 notifications on the TikTok account. It was like, one person liked your account. Cool. You got 1 new follower. And it was just blowing up. And every time I would refresh the screen, there were tens of thousands more views. So it was just astronomically going up. And I was very confused as to why this was all happening. The video it was happening for was a glass blowing video. There was a group of artists putting together like a very large, realistic looking glass turtle. And people who'd never seen glass blowing before thought this was possibly a real turtle that was being murdered and tortured with giant flames. And so there were all these comments about like, oh no, don't hurt the turtles. But then other people would come in and comment and be like, that's glass blowing. And they'd be like, no, they're murdering turtles. And so there was this just huge back and forth in the comments. And then also it tapped into this weird TikTok culture called Visco girls. So I was seeing all these comments that were SK, 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 which is how a Visco girl laughs. And then all of these like Visco girls have entered the chat and Visco girls have been triggered comments. And there were thousands of these comments and I had no idea what they were talking about. So I had to go on Google and look it up. And I was like, oh my God, this is so fascinating, because I'm at an age, I'm a millennial, I'm 29 years old. I think I'm young. Like, I still think like I'm at the bottom of the age group. And yet there's this entire, Gen Z culture and younger, they've got their own thing going on that I realized I had no idea about. And there was this whole cool like culture and all these things that were happening in society with young people that I didn't know about. And so it was this awesome portal for me to get those insights, especially as a marketer. Like, that is so valuable to understand what are other people thinking and feeling in age groups that are different than mine.
That's awesome. I know I watched a video recently. You were talking about like just being like a TikTok creator and how to get verified and how you've gotten like this cool swag and stuff from TikTok. If people were like, they were like, I really want to do this. Like, this is what I want to go after. Like, this is what I'm passionate about growing for marketing my own brand or product or service or whatever that is. What would you tell, like, can you explain kind of the process of how that came to be and how did they reach out to you? Like, I don't know myself, so I'm curious to know all that jazz. So
Yeah, no, and it's really interesting. I do a lot of, I would call that, it falls into like the educational content category, where I'm trying to like teach people how to do things, or like 3 quick tips on blah, blah, blah. And the ones about how to get verified have performed the best out of any like how-to videos that I've done, or informational videos. So I thought that was very interesting to share. That is the thing that people want. Like, people want to be influencers these days, which is so interesting to me, because I never wanted to be an influencer. It just kind of happened by accident.
Yeah.
By nature of me being a business owner and trying to build a brand around my business, I ended up building brands around myself, which was never like the intention, but it's just what ended up happening. What was your...
I was just curious, I know I'm kind of jumping over the topic, but I was just curious though, how many people have actually reached out to say, like, literally say, like, now I want to start glass blowing. Like, I'm sure there's been so many people.
Yeah, no, it's so cool. Not only people who say, oh, I want to do that for a living, or how can I find a class, or how do I get into this? But also a lot of people sharing like fun stories of like, oh, my grandfather worked at this cool glass factory, or, oh, me and my wife did glass blowing on our 25th anniversary. So it's a really cool, just like connective, almost cultural thing, glass blowing. And it's part of why I love it so much as a business, because to me, business is about building community. It's about serving people, and I think communities serve people best. Like, yes, you can serve someone by yourself, but a community can offer more support and resources generally. And I think that glass blowing naturally fosters, it's probably art in general, not just glass blowing, but glass blowing's my connection with it. It just fosters so much community, because you're sharing your love of this thing that we all know is subjective. And when we connect over subjective points of view that we agree, like, it could be perceived as ugly, but we both see it as beautiful, that's kind of like a special connection we form as human beings. And so I love that being a part of the business.
That's awesome. I know I jumped over the last topic of TikTok.
Yeah, we can go back to it about the verified
swag part and stuff like that. I'm sure you get questions on that too. Would you be able to just kind of touch points like how you got that started? I'm sure that there's a certain process that TikTok has for TikTok creators too.
Yeah. So I was fortunate to have good timing and being really early. So being early helped. In terms of the verification process, they have an internal team. The team can get input from the outside. So like, I happen to have an account manager, so to speak, someone who so they work at TikTok. They're a point of contact I have directly inside the company that I can reach out to for things that I might need. I've been able to slip them a couple suggestions of popular creator friends that have been like blowing up. Like, they should get verified because they're now like at 1 million followers and their videos are crushing it. So I've been able to kind of slip in and help a couple people get verified. But other than that, they have a whole team internally that looks for certain statistics. Like, are you gaining followers at a certain rate? Are you consistently getting a certain number of views on your videos? And so they have a team that will kind of review all of the accounts that have been nominated. So they have people who are like, oh, we should look at all of these accounts. And then they have a meeting. They review all of the accounts that have been nominated. They pick some people to verify, and that's an ongoing process. The reason some people who have millions and millions of followers aren't verified yet is partially I would imagine just do, and again, I don't work there, so I don't 1,000% know, but I imagine it's because there's just so many people, and they probably only have so many people on that team. There's maybe, you know, like a handful of people trying to verify millions of people who are, you know, either authors or musicians or have some professional status, or who are kind of blowing up on the platform. So I got reached out to because I read somewhere right when I got on the app, I did some research, right? Like I Googled, like, what is this TikTok thing? How do I use it? And I saw somewhere someone wrote, put your email address in your bio so they can reach out to you, because they can't contact you through their own platform. Like that's not really just how they operate. So I put my email in, and, you know, a month later, as I was kind of blowing up, they reached out to me and they said, hey, we want to invite you to this thing called the Popular Creator Program. I was like, sure, that sounds great. Here's like, and they ask you for your address and your info, and you submit that. And then I started getting these emails every so often that would say like, hey, we want to send you a little gift. Please submit your shipping info here. And so I fill those out, and I get some awesome free stuff, which is great. And then occasionally I've been invited into some different programs like the TikTok Learning Fund and the TikTok Learning Creator Program. And then also they have a live accelerator program.
That's awesome. What if someone was, you know, passionate about growing something on TikTok, like what would you say like three of your tips would be for somebody that, I know you got in kind of early with things and you were super consistent, which I always tell our clients, like it's the consistency factor. Like there's a bunch of C's involved, you know, like first the courage to get out and do it, you know, the clarity on what the message, what you actually want to put out there, how do you want to be seen, you know, don't be afraid to do it, but also like the consistency factor. I know that's the same thing with YouTube as well. And that's where I had a lot of opportunity with my growth in the past was I had been directing documentary films, won a bunch of awards. Film festivals were sold out all over Seattle and California. And what I had done is I turned around and started creating short formed content, micro content from these stories from my films. And they went viral on different channels that I had. One of the channels that we had for one of my films, it had over 800,000 views in a matter of like a couple weeks, right? And it was like, that was where I got really inspired to, I had started a production company, and then I shifted gears, and now I own a content marketing agency. So we help other people build influence with YouTube and then repurpose into podcast and so on. So we have this whole system that connects with social media and influence and stuff like that, which is a very seamless process for people. But that's really what we've taught people. And I'm sure you've seen it and would say the same thing. It's the consistency factor is really, really helps with the engagement and the algorithm. And I know YouTube rewards it, and I know TikTok probably rewards it too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like people, that's one of the most common questions I get asked is like, what's the ideal number of times to post? And while every person's going to have a slightly different ideal, it, you know, minimum one a day, unless your videos are crushing it. Like if your videos are consistently getting, you know, 5 to 10 million plus views, like then you can skip a couple days. Like you're putting out gold. It's okay. You don't have to, you know, put on the volume. But for everyone else, that volume really helps. Also because TikTok's got kind of like a long tail virality to it, even for non-viral content. So any of the videos that I post will continue to kind of just trickle in views for weeks and sometimes months after I post them, which is really unique compared to a lot of the other platforms that I'm on. LinkedIn does that sometimes. Like sometimes I'll have a LinkedIn post just keep getting engagement for weeks afterwards, but with TikTok, it's really consistent.
Yeah, have you been able to, I know quite a few people repurpose their TikToks to IG Reels. Do you do that as well?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. I had an interesting thing happen though, where my IG Reels has disappeared in terms of like the being able to post it. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but I have been using Reels up until like a week ago with a lot of success, where I just directly take the TikTok video, post it to the Reels, sometimes a little bit different caption. But Reels loves well-performing TikTok videos.
That's what I've seen with a lot of our clients' channels, those that utilize Reels at least once a week, but mostly if they do it more than once a week, then they're starting to get like thousands of views within there. And they get really excited about that too, because sometimes we work with influencers or entrepreneurs or business coaches and stuff, and they might not have that influence or that high following quite yet, but they want to build that. And so that gives TikTok, gives the virality piece of it, but also I've seen that with Instagram Reels and of course, YouTube. You were talking about LinkedIn. One thing that we noticed with some of the content that our team creates, sometimes we basically take the transcription from the episodes and our blogger turns around and creates, this promo article with like the juicy bullet points. And we've seen that articles during the pandemic were actually being shared out more often, and they started to get more of that kind of viral, higher view count. I don't know if you've seen that with LinkedIn during this time, but I know that videos, live streams, and articles were actually populating quite a bit for our clientele. What are your thoughts on like some of the viral content towards LinkedIn?
Yeah, for me, I think, and again, I think every person has, talents in different areas. So I know that I'm more talented on the copywriting side than I am on the video side. So for me, all of my viral posts on LinkedIn have been mostly just text. Some are text in picture. But those are the ones that I'll do, like 15 to 100,000 views sometimes, which isn't it's not as often as on TikTok. For me though, I found the video views are more quality. So a video that I do might only get, sometimes a video I do gets like 100 views, but I'll often get feedback that someone in my messages, they're like, hey, I saw that video and it really helped, or I thought this about it, or it was a great video. So I think that when people are watching you or looking at you for a minute, 2 minutes or longer, that has a deeper impact on their relationship with you than when they just read something. Now, that's not always the case because words can be incredibly powerful. So like the right words, I think, have more power than almost anything. So it's always degree of, what's the quality of the content.
Yeah, no, it's always that. Obviously, I'm always biased because videos like my jam. I love video so much,
Yeah.
and people can connect with us and an emotional connection, but also feel like they know us or they get to know our personality, things like that. And I think that's what's been so unique, for you with TikTok is showing your creativity, your uniqueness, yourself, like your talent, but just putting yourself out there and just being you. And I think that's what's really cool to encourage other people to do so too, because I know that I'll get messages from people on something, maybe it's a YouTube video, maybe it's a Facebook Live or something that I've created, and like people will reach out and they'll just say, you really inspired me to want to take action to do my first Facebook Live, or I want to start a YouTube channel. And I'm sure you've gotten that from audience members too, like just being inspired by you to create this present online with TikTok or LinkedIn, things like that. So yeah, I appreciate you just coming on here and sharing a little bit about your journey. What would you say, like 3 tips, like on both sides? So we kind of went through like a little bit on TikTok, which I love your channel. And you talked a little bit about building communities with LinkedIn. If people are trying to utilize both platforms, how would you combine that? Together. I'm sure you have specific content that you have for TikTok and you have specific content you have for LinkedIn. How do you put part of that together, but how do you also separate that? Because LinkedIn is definitely a different beast for sure.
Yes, and a much older audience to like I don't have a 13-year-old audience on LinkedIn. I totally do on TikTok. So the way that I separate them is really based on which parts of myself am I sharing. So like I do have a very young, jovial, silly, childlike part of myself. That's more what I share on TikTok. I also have a very serious, focused business side of myself, which is more what I share on LinkedIn. The way I combine the two is I just talk about what I see working and not working on TikTok on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is my like analysis platform. It's the place where I can establish authority by sharing my insights, opinions, and analyses. And TikTok's the place where I experiment. It's the science lab. It's where I'm getting messy, just, throwing stuff together, figuring it out, and then taking the analysis of that, taking the observation, the data, the experiences, and sharing it onto other platforms where it's relevant and valuable to people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I always like know like where my audience, like what type of content goes here, what type of content there. And owning a content marketing agency, we've done really well to be able to position our clients in different ways, like creating the right formats for these. Obviously TikTok videos are short and sweet and fast, and like engaging.
Yep.
And that can also be used in Instagram Reels, but like LinkedIn videos might be like more of the informative piece, or like how
Yep.
to on the educational, where that older audience, like you said, would want to like see what you're doing there too. So it's always just being able to differentiate that, but always sharing your personality in there and just like
Yep.
infusing that together. And our clients have been able to grow their shows really well, because here's like your YouTube video, like here's micro pieces of content that are fun, going in there.
Yep.
Occasionally like recording your own little stories too. Like it's just being able to diversify yourself really through
Yes.
all that. So
yeah, and having that omnipresence like is a powerful thing. I think people wonder why it's not working for them. It's usually either the consistency factor, or like people aren't seeing you enough, and they're seeing other people much more, so you're not occupying their attention enough for them to reach out to you. And so you have to reach out to them. And I'm sure the way that you treat content marketing is really, it draws people in. Like if it's not generating inbound leads, or and whatever those leads are, they don't have to be for clients, but leads for partners, leads for new relationships you're trying to form. Like that is the whole point of it. It's not just to check the box that like I posted today.
yeah, I've been super grateful because of the energy that I put out there and the way that I speak with people and treat people. When you always enter, from value first, and you never think of it as like, what do I receive when you connect
Right.
with someone? Like, I know when you reached out to me on Instagram, I instantly knew you knew that factor of stuff too. It's about staying humble in the process, because people can open doors in different ways. And it's always like, people will always connect with me like, how do you know Marcus Lemonis? How do you speak on stage with Marcus Lemonis? How do you know Lori Grenier from Shark Tank? People have asked me these things. It's because of my persistency, but also the sense of building relationships, providing value, the power of the follow-up, like different things that they're like, how'd you do this? I was like, I was being myself. I was being honest. I was providing value first. The power of connection is so powerful. And when you have the influence and the following, or if you have viral video content, like so many more doors open. I'm sure you've been approached by different individuals or companies for potentially brand deals or things like that too. And it's always about also allowing the partnerships to come in that are true to yourself and your brand, and understand, like, if you want to be on this person's show, I'm grateful for you to be on this podcast today. So I thank you again for just joining me and having the opportunity to share it, because I instantly knew in communicating with you that I went and checked out your TikTok. I was like, this is cool. This is unique. You're being yourself, things like that. And then the verbiage when you approach people is very important too. And I always tell our clients that, like, when you're trying to invite someone on your show, why would they want to be on your show? Like, what's the value there? Who can you connect the dots for as well? And that's the way that I always lead life in general, just like, what can I do for you? Versus like, oh yeah, like, I value your time to come on this show today, and so on. So I'm sure that you've gotten different opportunities for things. I'm sure I'd love to hear a little bit about that. Like, I'm sure you've gotten lots of opportunities. Like, have you chosen to do partnerships or collaborations with brands or people that you just feel like you truly connect with?
Yeah, so it's been honestly like life-changing and incredible what social media has done for me in the past year, very specifically. So I've always used Instagram to sell products for my other businesses. But what kind of shifted this year was really that relationship factor. I did not realize how powerful like relationships were. And also I believed that people were as good as I wanted them to be, but didn't get that proof until I took action in that way of like, I believe that people are so awesome that they want to make the world a better place. They don't want anything from, like, they're not trying to manipulate me. I believe I'm going to give every person that I talk to that energy and that belief and that trust. And from that came some amazing things. The co-founder of the business that I'm building right now came out of that. We connected through LinkedIn. have been reached out to by a bunch of different brands. I've done several different brand deals, like the chair I'm in right now and the desk I have in my office are both from a brand deal. So it's been, I call last year my rookie year when it comes to influencing, because before that I'd never like done any brand deals. I wasn't considered an influencer. I was just a business owner. So did a lot of kind of smaller brand deals to, build up that skill. Like I think doing brand deals and being an influencer is a skill just like playing an instrument. And so now I've got some stuff on my resume, some experience where I can kind of take it one step further this year. And then I'm going to just try and build that career by, building those relationships, learning, putting myself out there, taking risks. And it's been amazing. Yeah. So brand deals, yes. Relationships on the business side, not only from partnerships, but also people who are interested just to mentor me and kind of, help nurture me to be the best that I can be, because their values align with me. They, believe in what it is that I'm trying to achieve, and they want to empower me to do that. And then also clients and people that I can help, through a paid relationship have also come through both LinkedIn and TikTok.
I don't know if you've thought about doing and you might already have things in the process or whatnot, but have you thought about creating or have you created courses that can teach some of your knowledge, or doing experiences or retreats? Like obviously
not yet.
COVID. And
yeah. So I've stayed away from the courses because our one-on-one model that we've developed just has so much impact. And so we're really just, me and my partner are trying to scale through actual coaches who are doing one-on-one, or sometimes like 2 or 3 coaches at one time with a team. At some point when we have enough recorded material, we'll develop courses, but we're not going to go out of our way to take extra separate time to develop those courses, because we can naturally develop them anyways through other stuff that we're doing.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's just I'm always thinking of different ways that can help grow, scale, and monetize efficiently with things too. And one of the things that before COVID, I was really good at putting together high-end experiences. So, I'd sell these experiences and people would be like, because I'm passionate about bringing people together and connecting people that, are of influence or stature, or that, have the means to connect, and they want to connect with other people at this higher level. So that was something that I've done a lot. And I'm hoping to come back and create something. Well, I'm not going to say any names right now, but we're looking at doing potentially something in the fall for a women's retreat, but I'm not going to go into the details yet because it hasn't.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I'd love to hear more about that.
Person thing too, but I was thinking you could do things because you have the different business models, but I mean, so people could totally come out to a glass blowing retreat, or it's those hands-on things.
Yeah, I've got the idea, but I haven't put in the work to plan it out. For me, it's probably a next year development thing. We're still really building a lot of infrastructure around our team as we're adding more people to it and making sure that's all super solid.
Yeah, let me know if you ever need help I'm bashing on some of those ideas, because that was one of my favorite things. I've hosted 7 events since 2015, and retreats we used to hold 4 a year, and it was just, and then COVID hit, and then it's well, what do we do now? That was just one business model, not our agency model, but it's formulating those different ideas that can generate money in different ways and be profitable, but reaching the right audience. It's always just so valuable to just be able to have different systems in place. So it's just running for you, if you have this, funnel that goes to this, and then I love it. I love business. I know you do too. So I think
I get geeked out and excited about it too. And definitely I'm right aligned with you with loving experiences. With my glassblowing business, we would go, again, before COVID, we'd go to Vegas every year for these trade shows. There's these really cool wholesale glassblowing trade shows. And a few years ago, it was 4 or 5 years ago, I had this idea. I was I'm going to start throwing parties when we go, because it's not my unique idea. It's kind of something people would do. The big brands and businesses would throw these big, massive parties where they'd rent out the G Suite, and it was just open to everyone at the show. And I was I want to do something different. I want to do these smaller, more intimate, more exclusive parties. and they were so cool. And in one of the parties, we got a local Las Vegas tattoo shop to come set up a tattoo like area inside the suite. We had like, you know, a band playing live and a comedian. So I love putting together experiences, because those are the things that like we, you know, form memories around that stay with us for the rest of our life, right? Like one of those good experiences can carry you through for a lot of struggle and a lot of time. So absolutely, I love that stuff.
Yeah, no, I think experience of it, when people had attended my events in the past, it was like one of those things like people are always talking about it. Then like 3 years later, like somebody says something, or somebody comes to another event, or somebody's on a live stream or something, I'm like, oh, I remember when Tamara brought these people together, or Tamara brought this person to her stage, or you had this experience, you know, like it's just, that always lights me up though, because it's the fact that people remember it. And then when they're saying that they're grateful for that opportunity, that experience, I'm like, well, I know I'm doing something right, because people
Yep.
remember it, they talk about it, and then we do it again, and we change it up, and you know, figure out like what's in the now, like what we can do with our current, you know, brand and stuff like that. But yeah, I love it. I cannot wait to just have other
Get back
opportunities
to it. Yeah,
again in like person.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on here. I won't take up too much more of your time, but if someone were to connect with you on TikTok, is it World of Glass? What's your handle on TikTok?
Yeah, on TikTok, it's World of Glass.
Okay. Okay, cool. And so like, I know there's different opportunities. I'm sure that I'd love to actually connect you with some people if you're open to it behind the scenes.
Yep.
There's some opportunities I think that you could do, either some collaborations, things like that. So I'd love to make some intros for you. If like real quick, like we'll do like fire round. Like if you
Rapid
wanted
fire.
to tell
Let's
someone
go.
like 3 tips for TikTok, and then 3 tips for LinkedIn, like right now, like with growing
Yep.
that, since they're 2 separate molds, what
Yep.
would you say those 3 tips for TikTok, and then 3 tips for LinkedIn?
Okay, let's go. 3 tips for TikTok. 1, do research and write down things you like about other people's videos that you think you could recreate. I would say 2 would be use good lighting and bright colors. That does make a big difference. Notice the beautiful wall behind me.
I love your wall back there. That was the first thing I said when you hopped on.
Because our eyes are, especially when we're skimming quickly, like we stop for a moment on bright colors. And then I'd say 3 would be, you know, be really consistent, post at least once a day. But if you can post 3 times a day where one of the ideas is your good idea and 2 are just kind of like quick other ideas that maybe you don't feel great about, still put those other 2 out there, because the data you'll get back, the information and the feedback you'll get back from those 2 extra videos will be incredibly helpful for making you notice patterns and progress and grow your account. For LinkedIn, let's see, first one is going to be make sure that your tagline is interesting. That is like how people judge you on LinkedIn, is they look at your tagline. Don't put Forex or Bitcoin in it, even if you're a Forex or Bitcoin trader, because people will just automatically decline you. So put something interesting that grabs people's attention and makes them want to have a conversation with you. 2 would be vary up your post styles. So mix it up with short video clips, text only, pictures. LinkedIn does this really cool feature around multi-page PDFs where it turns it into something called a carousel, which is very popular, and it looks super professional and nice. So like vary up your content so you can start to see if one of those types of content consistently performs best for you, because it's very likely one of them will. And I would say 3rd is really like comment something valuable on someone else's post. Don't just write like, I agree, or, you know, awesome idea. Like contribute something extra, add your own little piece of analysis in the comments. And that can be a great way to get people to reach out and to connect with you.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, with the commenting piece of it too. I've been a part of like different groups that will help promote each other within the LinkedIn groups, and then
The pods.
yeah, but it's always about going in and actually watching their video, actually reading their article, like commenting something, share a story that why you resonate with it too.
Right.
Because I, like you said, like people go in there like, oh, I agree, and I've seen these like groups that go out and they post and they like and they comment, and they're trying to get the engagement factor. But like I've seen them do that, but at the same time, like I'm like, what is the purpose of this if I'm not truly getting to know what this person does, so I can become a, you know, a referral partner if I truly want to connect with them and help them. then I need to understand who they are, what they do, what their content is about, versus just going over there, liking, loving, and saying I agree, and then hoping that they'll comment back on my post. Like it's so much more than that. Like you have to connect the dots.
People get confused because they think social media is a numbers game when it's a people game. It doesn't matter what your numbers are. Like, yes, I was able to get on this podcast, for example, because of my TikTok account. But even if I didn't have all those things, I could still, it might be a little bit more difficult. I might have to put more effort in, but I could still get on your podcast. I just have to bring something else to the table. I could still achieve all of the things. It's just a little bit harder when you don't have that kind of like shiny penny to show people.
Yeah, and it's interesting because and I want to encourage people though, even if you don't have 2 million followers on TikTok, there's something that you have in you that can inspire others to work with you. Like, so when I started my company, like, yes, I had the one up that I owned a video production company. People wanted video, but they didn't need it. They didn't need to hire my company. They didn't need all these things. So I always approached it as, you have a really like inspiring story. It was one of those things where I approached people that I wanted to connect with because I loved their story. And I was like, I noticed that you didn't have XYZ, maybe a brand story trailer. I'd love for my team to come out and help you produce that, build that relationship for you. And they're, like, it's the way they approach. And I always asked everyone, I was like, what was it that allowed you to say yes? And they're like, it was they said, Tamara, it's always how you approach us. It's always how you give back, but it was in your email, it was in your voicemail, it was in that you're passionate, like you want to help create something great for me, not just for you or this value add, but it was like, because I was like, I know that we could create something awesome for these people that we connected with. And that's how we position it first, and the power of the follow-up and things like that. The persistency, obviously, all tied in together. But when I always approached it that way, it was the same thing. I didn't have anything. I wasn't, XYZ, but from this experience, then all of a sudden I was able to connect with other people. Then I was able to bring people's stories together at a much larger field. And then I had introductions, and then I directed films, and then they sold out, and it just kind of started building. And then from there, I can call these people, even if I haven't seen them in like 7 years, I can still just be like, hey, how's it going? Like, I have this opportunity. I'd love to connect you over here. Also, I saw that you're connected with this person. Do you mind making an intro for me? And they're like, sure. Like, because we've stayed in touch. You don't have to talk to people every day. But if you just stay in people's space and just remember them, and if you see something, go comment on their post, like listen to them, see how you can continue to help them even 7 years, 12 years down the road. Like, there's different ways that you can build. So I'm rambling on a little bit, but I get really passionate about the connection piece of it. And that's what I love.
Yeah. When I started on Instagram, and I was trying to be on Instagram and build a business with it, I was homeless and I had nothing, I had zero accomplishments or anything to entice anyone to want to have a conversation with me other than me and my personality. And that's what everyone has. Everyone has a unique personality. And there are people who just want to get to know you. Like, people are fascinated by people. So the more that you guys listening to this and watching this can just put yourselves out there, like you said, the courage part, such a huge part. If you can have the courage to just talk to people are awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, and I was talking about this actually on Clubhouse the other day. Like, they're going through the room and they're saying, like, what is one habit that you have? And it's the power of ask. Like, if you don't ask, you don't know. And if someone says no or you reject, you don't get discouraged. Like, I'm very blunt. So I will literally say why. I will ask why, because I want to know why. Like, I'm not going to be offended, but I just want to be like, do you have something going on? Is it, I don't have this, like, what is it? Are you busy? Like, I've turned so many no's into interests to yeses because you have to maneuver the way that you speak to people, and people get approached all the time. So when you go back and ask why, and then if you can accommodate to that no, like maybe it's they're in the middle of a launch, or they're in the middle of something else, and they're like, oh, okay, 6 weeks down the line, you're like, okay, yeah, like, or follow up here, or do what they're saying to do instead of giving up on something when you're rejected.
Absolutely. Yeah. Follow-ups, man. if you follow up with people, your clients will compound over time. Like that has always been my experience.
Yeah, no, I love the power of the follow-up. People call me the follow-up queen. They're like, hey, it's
Nice.
Tamara, the follow-up queen.
You did send a lot of follow-up emails for this podcast, just so everyone knows. There were lots of reminders.
I love it. Well, I really appreciate you being on here. I love this conversation. I could go on for hours, but we unfortunately have to wrap up for this show today. But I'm going to make sure that my team puts in all the links so that people can connect with you through this process too. And we'll be able to share it out to our social channels, and just super grateful that you were able to join me today. And yeah, just super, super blessed that you were able to come on the show today. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
If you have any last minute, like inspiring thoughts?
Yeah, I think, if you feel like you're struggling right now, that means you're close to something awesome, whether on the outside or within. I think most likely from within. All of my progress externally has come from progress internally. So if you're struggling with something, now is your opportunity to seize that struggle and turn it into your greatest strength.
I love that. That was like, boom, mic drop. I'm like, end of show, fade out. No, I'm just kidding. Well, thank you so much again for joining us. And those that are listening, thank you again. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, it's there. So be sure to tune in, and I will see you next week.